morning, everyone! I am so happy to welcome all of you once again in another episode of Sun Life's Safe Space series. My name is Mickey Sachiko and I'll be your host. Now, for those who just tuned in, Sun Life Safe Space series is a collaboration between Sun Life Philippines and the Philippine Mental Health Association as part of Sun Life's Partner in Health, Partner for Life campaign. Now, our last episode was about mental wellness in the family, whether we love them, we hate them, and everything in between. But for today, we will be discussing mental wellness in the workplace and how to perfectly balance our work with our lives. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy today's topic, and that is imperfect balance, how mental wellness bridges work and life. And before we proceed with our program, let us get to know our special guests for today. Wow, our first guest is a clinical psychologist with 29 years of experience that includes psychological assessment and psychotherapy. She is a former senior lecturer at the University of the Philippines, and apart from her stint in the academe, she also conducts lectures, trainings, and workshops on various topics in the field of psychology and mental health, including discussions on management of depression, anxiety, and stress. She also conducted sessions on parenting, handling difficult people, and finding meaning using positive psychology. She is PMHA's representative to the Philippine Council for Mental Health, and she participated in the drafting of the 5-year strategic plans for the implementation of the Mental Health Act. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for PMHA's National Executive Director, Dr. Carolina Uno Raico. Hi, Doc. So nice to meet you. Alrighty, so our next guest is a returnee from our last episode. He is a social anthropologist and a life coach who has a holistic perspective with his approaches towards human behavior. He is currently a lecturer at the Ateneo de Manila University and a freelance qualitative researcher. Being a life coach, he helps people journey through life transitions and seek to build their life's purposes and help overcome limiting beliefs while enabling them to gain emotional awareness. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome once again Mr. John Gaffey. Sir John, nice to have you again here. Please have a seat. Of course, when we talk about mental wellness at work, we will inevitably tackle our finances. And to give us further insights on how we can always ensure that our finances are in good shape, we will be joined by Mr. David Damian via online, one of Sun Life's financial advisors, to share his thoughts on the matter. Hello, David.
Hi, Mickey. It's so nice to meet you today.
Thank you, David. Wow, it's really wonderful to have everyone here today. I'm super excited for our topic. Once again, our topic is imperfect balance, how mental wellness bridges work and life. Now, as we already know, the pandemic numbers are dwindling and we are already beginning to return back to our normal lives. With that in mind, a lot of companies are now beginning their transitions back to return to office or RTO setups. However, after 2 years of being adjusted to working from home, a lot of employees are now experiencing some mental stress, knowing that they will once again have to wade through the traffic jams and commuting crowds. Nevertheless, work from home and return to office setups do have their own pros and cons, right? So let's find out more today. All right, Doc, sir, are you both ready? So let's do this. So first off, work from home. I like working from home because I feel that I can accomplish more since I no longer have to waste at least 2 hours being stuck in traffic, right? Return to office or RTO. However, when there are problems that need immediate attention, being at the office really helps people or the team gather quickly together and discuss our course of action. What's your take on this, Dr. Raiko?
Thank you very much for that question, Miki. Actually, there are really advantages and disadvantages both when you are working from home and the return to office that is, it's happening right now. But actually, the bottom line is that which among these two would really help us, in terms of our priorities, which aligns with our values and our priorities. Like, for instance, if you're really somebody who would like to spend more time with your children, I think a lot of people would prefer working from home, right? Because they're able to see their children and also do their work at the same time. So there are also advantages when in the return to work set up, like there are clearer communications, clearer and more spontaneous actually, because you see each other. There's no need to update each other in Zoom meetings, because when you're far from each other, it's so, there's like a constant need to update each other. What about the deliverables, what's happening right now. So it depends on the employee really, what aligns with the values, what aligns with the priorities. And if these are aligned, then it helps us in maintaining our well-being.
I love that. There you go. There's really no one size fits all, right? I mean, personally, I would go for hybrid. How about you guys? Let us know in the chat. What are you? Team hybrid, team work from home, team RTO, right? I mean, at one end, work from home presents us with the advantage of being able to save time for accomplishing our task. However, RTO also let us feel confident that we can be at the helm of issues should they arise. All right, now let's jump into the next one here. All right, so here we go. Work from home. I like working from home because I have more time for my family. Return to office. However, I do miss returning to the office because I miss the company of my friends at work. So let's hear from Sir John this time. Sir John, what's your take on that?
Well, in our Filipino culture, we enjoy social interactions, right? So, social interactions at home, that's with our kids, our spouses, our parents, whoever they are together, and of course with our colleagues at work and everywhere. The pandemic comes, and here we are stuck at home. So the bonding with family increases, expands, deepens, even if, like in our previous session, we know there are some hiccups along the way.
Yeah.
But I guess at a point in time, we started missing our friends, our barkada, our colleagues, and now it's time to go back. So there's a form of excitement, I guess, because we are at last reopening ourselves to the other cultural dimension, which is the culture of friends and colleagues at work. But I know some people who have been starting saying, I have a kind of separation anxiety from home suddenly. But as soon as they get to the office and they see each other because of the intense social interactions, smiling, everything goes well, and the workplace becomes the second home. So I guess we are all in this kind of mixed feelings of strong bonds established at home, but still the desire to be with others elsewhere.
I love that, Sir John. Like mixed feelings, right? Like separation anxiety and then excitement as well. Can you guys relate on that? Let us know in the chat. Indeed, based on what Sir John said, Filipinos do have this cultural mindset of the need to constantly connect both with family and friends, and this can actually present conflicting needs. The need to be with family and loved ones and the need to connect with friends, right? So this may actually be a tricky balancing act for all of us. So now, for our next question, all right, it goes like this. Work from home. My problem with working from home is that I find it difficult to establish a margin between my working time and my own time. Return to office. However, there are also times that I have to extend beyond working hours when I am at the office. I think it's something that hounds all of us. So let us hear from Dr. Raiko about this. What's your thought on that, Doc?
Actually, you're very correct there, Mickey. No, when it comes to working from home or return to the office, uh, when when the pandemic started, one of the things that really was very difficult or very challenging for our employees, no, was the fact that there has become a blurring of boundaries between what we do at work and what we do, our responsibilities at home. So it has become very difficult. It has become really challenging. In fact, at PMHA, a number of our clients at the start of the pandemic, the usual concerns that they had was, how do I adjust? I mean, I'm working at home, and yet I have my responsibilities, like I need to cook food for my children and all of that. So it is very, very important, really, that we establish that boundary, psychological, physical boundary. No? In one case, for instance, what I did was I asked the client really to establish a place at home wherein she can work and inform the members of the family, that, this is mommy's place. When mommy is here, she is working, and you cannot disturb her. And it is easier actually for older children. But when it comes to younger children, it becomes more difficult, because how do you explain that to the children, right? But you'll be surprised at the resilience of children. At times, they will test limits. Iti-test nila yung limit mo at guguluhin ka pa rin nila. But when they know, no, that you're firm, and parang sinabi ko pa nga sa kanya noon, unless it's an absolute emergency, you cannot disturb me, ganyan. So sa umpisa, iti-test siya ng anak, pero later on, alam na ng anak na, kapag ganitong oras, nandito si mommy, kapag ganitong oras, pwede na tayong mag-usap. So things like those, no? So that physical boundary, that is mind setting. You have to do that mind setting, no? Para alam mo na, itong oras na to, worker ako, employee ako, at hindi mo muna ako pwedeng istorbohin. So those, that's one of the things that people can do, no? Employees can do.
There you have it, guys. I mean, I gotta say, I have to agree to that. Dalawang boundaries, diba? Yung physical and psychological boundaries. So I hope you guys learned something from that. We have to really establish that thin line of work and play so we can all maintain our mental well-being. How about you, Sir John? What's your take on that?
Well, to add on to what Dr. Raiko just said, we try to establish the physical and the psychological boundaries, but again comes in two different cultures. Workplace culture, home culture. Workplace responsibilities and expectations. Normally in pre-pandemic time, we would try to separate them in our brain. There's a time that we leave home to go to work. That's workplace culture. I'll deal with that there. And then I return home, that's home place culture, expectations of family and all that. But then the pandemic brought the two together. I know some people, just as you were sharing, who said, all right, so I will establish a separation at home between the two. Work time comes, dress up as if going to work.
Yes.
So they step into the workplace culture, even if the physical location is at home. And they work. Break time, they try to maybe do a little bit of home culture. But I also know for a lot of people at a point in time when they got used to being at home and working, the two mixed together. They started to be at work and eating and chatting with friends. I guess everyone knows what that means. And when we manage to put our live Zoom presentation off, then there are other things that go on behind the scenes. So for some people, they manage it well, but some found it to be very difficult because the two cultures had been separated for so long, and then they were brought in together. So as much as we tried to separate them at a point in time, they blended, and we ended up, as you just mentioned there, in this difficulty of establishing and maintaining Maybe it was easy to establish at the beginning, but maintaining long term became difficult, or maybe we can also say work and life has changed now. Both are together.
Can I add on to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was thinking time management is really, really very important. No, I got from what Sir John mentioned earlier. Part of our mind setting really is that even at the beginning of the day, you know, kapag work from home kasi, di ba, yung iba ang ginagawa, parang sa bahay naman ako mamaya na ako gigising kasi ano naman, pwede naman akong gising lang, tapos the Zoom camera or the video camera is off, ganon, kasi sabihin ko na lang, di pa, ganyan. Pero actually, it doesn't help. It helps if, you know, the time that you wake up in the morning when you're going to work should be the time that you also should wake up, even when you're just working at home, right? So it helps you set your mind that today I'm really working, ganon. So time management, no, yung hindi para hindi tayo nahihirapan na mag-adjust kasi alam natin pareho yung ginagawa natin whether nasa bahay tayo o nasa office man tayo. Even ako, for instance, no, when I am working at home, I make sure that the rituals that I do, I put on some makeup there, fix myself, you know, put on a nice top kasi yung minsan maganda rin naman yung yung pants or skirt or whatever. But whatever helps you what do you call that? Set your mind that, you know, I am working today. So I have a meeting today, I have a very important meeting today, so I'm going to put my best effort, you know, to be the best worker that I can be, or to be the best manager, or whatever rank or whatever position you have. So maganda kasi yun, parang yun nga sabi ni Sir John, magbe-blend siya, pero hindi kinakailangan naman na parang yun nga, yung we become so complacent about it. We have to be mindful. We have to be conscious that this is the time that we're working. So, parang hindi rin mahirap sa atin that when we return to work, hindi mahirap yung adjustment.
There you have it, guys. I mean, we're just starting off and so many tips already, right? So, moving on to our main topic, imperfect balance, how mental wellness bridges work and life. So we will talk about what this is and how it affects our mental well-being. Doc, what is your thought on our topic?
Well, actually, the topic is very timely and relevant, really, no? But in responding to your question, I want to go back to the definition of mental health based on the WHO, no? So first, mental health is a state of well-being wherein one individual realizes his or her strengths and weaknesses. So that's self-awareness, no? You know what you're capable of, you know your limitations, and then can cope with the normal stresses of life. The challenges that happen to you, you're able to be resilient, no? You're able to cope with the problems that come your way. And then there's productivity. So part talaga ng mental health natin, yung being able to come up with something, no, be productive, and of course the last one is the ability to contribute to the community. So all of these things, no, all of these characteristics of a mentally healthy person, hindi siya discrete or separate. Kumbaga, they are intertwined. That's why in the topic today, there's parang productivity yan, di ba? But to be able to be productive, you have to be able to know what your strengths and limitations are. The self-awareness must be there, you know, because that's when you will be able to know which among these characteristics will help you in coming up with better outputs, you know, and which among among your characteristics or your weaknesses naman or your limitations would need some focusing or some strengthening, no? These are very important, crucial factors especially now, no? We're still emerging from the pandemic and it's been said nga na magiging endemic na siya. Pero ang sinasabi natin, mental health cannot be separated from our work. all of these, no, all of the aspects of our lives, whether family yan, even work yan, kasama ang mental health natin. So, all of those factors, all of those characteristics will have to be taken into consideration. So, yeah.
Sobrang importante talaga self-awareness, right? As they say, self-awareness now is a meta skill that everyone should have, right?
Right.
How about you, Sir John? What's your major takeaway from our topic today?
Included in the self-awareness, I will expand it into what I will call cultural awareness also. Because as much as we learn about our strengths, personal strengths and weaknesses, we are also within a context of work where the work itself has been organized in such a way that there are expectations and we have a lot of responsibilities. Sometimes we might be very happy after achieving something great, but other times we might feel really stressed. So as much as we are aware of our strengths and weaknesses, it is also good to be aware of the way work, if we are speaking about work, is organized. And this is part of what we can say organizational culture. The problem there is that oftentimes we think that the culture at work is an absolute. So we force ourselves to comply at all times. But not all times do we feel okay with it. But culture is not absolute. We create culture. So we can change culture. So in that sense, when bridging the gap between home and work, because home has its own culture and expectations and responsibilities and pressures that come with that. So I guess it's important on both sides, when we don't feel okay at work, when we don't feel okay with certain expectations at home, it's important for us to talk about it. It's okay to talk about it. It's not only okay, it's necessary to talk about it with others and express how we are being affected by it. And hopefully others can understand, and together we can maybe modify and change workplace practices and home expectations that are not helping us in our growth and in our mental well-being.
That is very interesting. I hope if we have someone who's watching or listening to this who happen to be an employer, that they get to consider putting that into the spotlight, right? The culture is not absolute, and that there are some of their employees who might be needing that kind of like support for their mental health. So that's really eye-opening. Thank you so much, John. I mean, you see, Filipinos have a strong sense of culture when it comes to interacting with our peers. And what you just discussed affirmed what's on my mind. So once again, to our dear audiences, please do share ano na po yung mga natutunan nyo so far. Kasi personally, ako ang dami ko nang natutunan ngayon pa lang sa mga tips from Doc and Sir John. So please drop them in the chat. Let us know. All right, so let us move on to another exciting segment, and this is the Q&A portion. And here's how this goes. So we have pre-collected a number of questions that have perplexed some of our professionals. Then we categorize these into two classes. There are questions that lean toward a more psychological approach. And there will be, of course, those questions will be addressed by you, Dr. Raiko. Likewise, there are also inquiries that lean more toward cultural approach, and this will be obviously addressed by Sir John. Lastly, we recognize that there are also questions that are more in line with financial issues. So these will be addressed by David of Sun Life later on. All right, so for our audience, you may also post your queries in the chat box. We'll try to read some of your questions or try to answer some of them the best that we can. However, there may be issues or concerns that require more in-depth discussion. So in those cases, please refer to Philippine Mental Health Association's contact information so you can schedule for a session if you feel that would be more helpful to you. Without much ado, let's go over to these questions. As an employee, I have always been committed to my job, and whenever my boss tells me to render overtime, I can't say no because I often think that it will affect my performance assessment. This led me to working very long hours, usually from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. I rarely interact with my family because of this, but my efforts are for providing them their needs. With this schedule, how can I manage a good work family life balance? Wow, that is tough. Doc, what is your take on that?
If that is how she or he does things, maybe it's really time to rethink, no, how she or he performs the functions, no? Her role as a parent probably, and as a family member and an employee. There's this concept of toxic productivity kasi, no, Mickey. When we say toxic productivity, it's an unhealthy desire to do things, to accomplish things at all costs, no? At all times. Parang the self-worth is equated with the amount of work that you're doing. So you have to ask yourself, baka may toxic productivity ka na, no? Kasi ang hirap sa toxic productivity, it never ends. Like, you accomplish things, and then once you have accomplished something, you want to do more, right? Remember that parang sa economics, we have the law of diminishing returns then. We can only perform at our best at a particular point, no? We tend to peak at a particular point. And when we peak, we plateau. And after that point, magdi-decline na yung performance. So, it wouldn't help, no? If we're too tired already, may human factor eh. We get tired, we lose focus, we lose concentration, and so our performance suffers also. So tingnan natin yon, no? Bakit ba natin ginagawa yan? Baka naman ang iniisip natin, yan ang gusto ng family natin. Pero actually, our families want us to be there for them physically, emotionally. Hindi lang yung dahil nakaka-provide tayo. So I think that's a lot of things to think about. I know it is easier said than done, but we have to reassess.
I'm sure a lot of our audience nakaka-relate to that, no? Let us know, relate ba kayo guys? Drop some emojis or just put in relate in the chat. But let's move on to the second question. This is a very interesting one. After working for 6 months in our BPO company, I became a regular employee. However, one of my colleagues has been singling me out, accusing me of sloppy work and poor performance. I want to talk to her about it, but I oftentimes get shy to do it. I know for a fact that I have performed well to the best of my abilities, otherwise I would not have been regularized. How can I maintain a harmonious working relationship given this kind of setup? Interesting question, right?
Yes,
Doc, what's your take
very
on
interesting question actually, and it can be answered at so many levels actually, no? Well, first and foremost, the question is, who are you answerable to, right? Because if you're not answerable to this colleague, why would you spend so much time thinking of what is his or her comment or input or what have you about his performance, right? About your performance, right? If you're not answerable to this person. Secondly, there must be some form of performance management mechanism, performance appraisal or performance evaluation, which should be the basis, right, of an honest and objective evaluation of the performance. Now, if it would appease him or her, maybe he or she should go to the supervisor and objectively ask, how am I performing, right? And then if it's the harmonious relationship that you are after, but this is the kind of environment that you're in, and you already know that you're really performing well based on the evaluation of your supervisor, then you have to probably rethink it. Is that the kind of environment, the kind of harmonious relationship that you would want to establish, with these kinds of people? So it's in one of the researches that I came across with, actually, in terms of RTO, no return to office, the advantage or the disadvantage actually is that there are more opportunities or more instances actually of gossip and cliques happening, no, being established. So that's one of the disadvantages. So as a worker, as an employee, you have to ask yourself, is that something that you want to engage in? Are these the kinds of people that you would want to have a harmonious relationship with, right?
There you have it. I love how you answer that. Let's face it, right? Sometimes it's hard to please everyone at
Yes.
work, and it's
You have to be
interesting.
just objective about it.
Yes, and it's interesting that you said that the RTO calls for more, opens up more gossips. But let's move on to another really interesting question here. This is the last one for you, Doc. So let's check this one out. And it goes like this. I am currently enrolled in my master's degree through our company's educational assistance program. Since I began my graduate studies, I made sure that all the classes I take are slated during Saturdays to ensure that there are no conflicts with my work schedule. During the last leg of my schooling, there are classes that fall on weeknights, but I have been able to work out a schedule with my supervisor. However, I have recently been having a hard time doing well, both in work and in school. I feel really tired most of the time, and I am losing that motivation to do my task. I know that I still want to pursue my studies and career, but I cannot seem to focus with the pressure of wanting to make my company proud given all their help. What can I do to balance my work and studies without affecting my performance, at the same time, my well-being? Really love that question. Doc,
Yes.
what's your take on
It's
that?
so relatable. Actually, it happened to me personally, no? But one of the things that she can do, or he can do probably, is that number one, you have to be your own advocate. You know, in these new normal that we're talking about, no? We have to understand that as much as we employees or our employees are navigating through it, bago pa ito no? Nag-uumpisa pa uli tayo, no? Nagta-transition tayo. So, iniisip na natin, paano ba ako makaka-adjust dito? Ano yung mga dapat kong gawin? Yung employers then actually, nag-iisip din sila. They're still navigating through this. So, it's both ways. So, in this particular instances, no, mga novel situations such as this, it's important that you advocate for yourself so that when policies are created, kasama yung situation mo, mapapag-isipan ng employer kung paano ka ma-accommodate, no? Because it's not only you, like you said, there's an employee assistance program, right? Apart from that, on a more practical level, you have to also understand that you have limitations. Remember the characteristics of a mentally healthy person, di ba? Self-awareness, you know your limitations. I did that for some time. Nag-graduate studies ako, kaya ko pala 6 units, mag-9 units ako. And then, kaya ko pala 9 units, nag-12 units ako. After the 12 units, parang wala na, hindi na ako nakakahinga Parang my children don't know me anymore because I'm in school the whole time. So, you have to know your limit. And siguro kung ilang units ka ngayon, pwedeng bawasan mo, hindi ba? Hindi naman ikakasama mo 'yon. Unless there's the employer or the organization calls for that, dapat may ganitong number of units ka. But I don't think ganon naman, no? It's up really to you. And then you also have to talk to your immediate supervisor, right? And tell him or her about, this is my situation. Is there something that we can do about it? Like less time at work, but I will put in more time in the morning. Those kinds of accommodations. I am sure with the kind of performance that you've shown in the past, mapapagbigyan naman yan kung mapapag-usapan ng mabuti.
There you have it. Now, I'm sure a lot of you can probably relate to that. Diba? Yung maraming, they're wearing so many hats, they're
Right.
juggling so many things. So those are very nice tips there, Doc. Thank you so much. I'm sure our audience really loved those as much as I did. So now let's tackle a different approach with questions that will be answered by John. So to our audience, please continue sending out your inquiries in the chat and would be more than happy to chat to you all. So here we go, Sir John. And the first question is, I am a newly hired teacher and would like to become successful in my chosen field. I have noticed that my colleagues tend to extend time in the faculty room beyond working hours to finish their tasks. As for me, I am able to accomplish my deliverables within my working time and I would like to go home early. However, it feels like nakakahiya if I go home early because almost all of them extend to complete their task. What should I do? Sir John, this is very interesting. What is your take on this one?
I will start by asking this question. Why should I feel nakakahiya if I have completed my tasks? So what is retaining me from feeling okay to leave and go home? My take on that is, again, there's a culture of togetherness in the Philippines. We share strong social interactions, strong social bonds. So when we are with a group, we blend together. Of course, there will always be some problems and gossiping and stuff like that. But generally, we tend to be together as a team. So now comes the time for you who have finished your task to leave. But you cannot leave. Now it's important for us to be aware that culture is not something abstract out there. Culture, it is something in our brains. We share it with other people, but it's deeply ingrained in us. It's in me. So that's why maybe I feel ashamed, I don't feel okay leaving the group because they are still there. As if I leave, I'm doing something that's wrong and I start feeling guilty. Now what do I do? Because culture is in me and culture is what I share with them. What will I do? I don't have perfect answers, but I'm thinking of two alternatives and I hope everyone and anyone will brainstorm and see what you can do. Maybe the first one is to find a way to smoothly, indirectly ask for permission to leave. What do I mean by that? Maybe I can say to those who are still around, hi, how's everything? I'm done with my task. Does anyone need help? And hoping they will say, oh no, we're okay, you can go. And then I'm given the permission to leave, so the culture in my brain eases and I'm okay to leave. But let's be careful, because some might take our suggestion literally and they might say, oh yeah, I have something to do.
Now you're trapped.
now I'm trapped, you know? Or maybe I can breathe deeply and remind myself that even if I share certain cultural expectations with others, I'm also an individual with my own needs. And right now, I've completed my tasks and I want to go home. So maybe I can gently but firmly, with a smile, hi, see you tomorrow, bye. These are just suggestions. But no, become aware that we share a strong culture of togetherness and we cannot just remove it from our brains because we have been socialized into that.
You know, that's very interesting. I'm sure that those people who might be overthinking and might feel like, really, oh, that's easier said than done. Well, we hope those tips really help you, get to choose which might work for you, because there's no one size fits all for that, right? So thanks, Sir John, for that. So let's jump into the second question here, you guys. And it goes, I've been in the BPO industry for quite some time now, and I am confident that I performed excellently. I have good attendance records with commendable metrics, and I have been applying for a higher position or promotion. However, I feel that the bosses do not consider my application because I seldom mingle with them as Yossi buddies because I do not smoke. What should I do? Wow, Sir John, what's your take on this one?
I guess we start again with the culture of togetherness again, in the sense that why is this person again feeling that the problem is because he or she is not mingling? You see, again we go back to being together, doing something together. Again, we cannot just change culture overnight by ourselves because we are part of it. What maybe I can suggest, but again, it's not the solution, but a suggestion to help us think about, is maybe I can find a way to mingle with the bosses outside of smoking. Because I don't smoke, so it would not be okay for me to force myself to smoke just to get into the group. Maybe I can think and look around, observe what do they do outside of smoking, where they mingle, and I can mingle. Because that's part of a kind of culture that we cannot just throw out because we are part of it. So maybe by mingling, maybe we get to know them a little bit better. But maybe also, I'm feeling like that, that person is feeling like that, because of the culture within myself that's leading me to feel a bit guilty because I'm not mingling, and maybe the bosses are not thinking about that at all. So in that case, maybe I can also be a little bit more objective and ask for maybe feedback from the bosses about my work. It's an opening for me to start a conversation with them, and then I will probably know a bit more if truly the problem is about mingling, or maybe I don't see it, maybe there's a problem that I should also resolve about my performance. I think it's perfect, but maybe there's something that I don't see, and feedback can help me adjust to that. But again, always be aware we are part of different cultural practices. Some we can change, some we cannot change. Sometimes we have to mingle, but other times it's also good to seek for feedback.
There you have it, guys. I hope to the person who asked that question to find a way that really works for you. I love how you said that, Sir John, right? All right, now this final question for you, Sir John, is very interesting as well. And it goes like this. Because of my extensive experience in information technology, I have been looking for a job in this specific field where I can make use of the skills I've learned through the years. However, despite my skills, I always fail to land a job because my academic background is not related to information technology. I graduated with a degree in BS Agriculture. How come companies here in the Philippines are so focused on the paper credentials instead of giving credence to one's years of experience? What is your take on that, Sir John?
Well, I guess it's not only in the Philippines. Our current world is organized in such a way that a lot of things are set in advance. So credentials have become part of what I will call the cultural practice of not only companies who are based on profit, but practically of all institutions. Because credentials have become one way of assessing, HR especially will assess if that person has the basic qualifications to be able to do the work, the job that they need. But now, in this personal case, that person feels that she has the IT competence and expertise and experience that should give her the job. But the academic credentials do not correspond to the experience. Again, suggestions, not absolute answers, right? Perhaps that person can find a way to put his expertise on paper. Because HR will always screen what you have sent to them as your CV, as your resume. That's how you start. That's how it's organized. And that's one aspect of cultural, organizational culture that you cannot change. I cannot change. We have to kind of adjust to. So there's maybe a way that if I were in that position, I would say, tell myself, well, what can I do? How can I show the HR that I have these expertise? But they will want something on paper. So maybe if I don't have any credentials, I might join workshops, well, those that are properly recognized, and then I'll start having certificates, or probably I can also share the work I have accomplished, so they can see what I can do, and from there, hopefully, I can open doors that seem to be closed. Because of course, if my academic credential does not correspond to what I want to do, immediately someone will say, hey, there's something is wrong there. But I know it's not wrong, so it's up to me to find that way. But I like also to connect this with a word in Filipino, discarte. It's another form of culture, you know. So the thing there is, how do I sell my skills? Instead of saying to myself, why do they always rely on credentials? Well, this I cannot change. But that's what they do. And I know they rely on credentials. So how can I sell myself? How can I find ways to present myself in such a way that they will go beyond the academic degree that does not correspond to what I want to do, and accept to listen and hear me out. These are suggestions, but again, it's important for us to be aware that we are part of different forms of cultures. Some we can change, some we cannot change, and individually we have the capacity, the strength, right? The possibility of adapting, adjusting, and selling ourselves, because we can do that.
Love that. So many takeaways from that, Sir John. I love mostly like putting like some sort of like a price tag for our skill set, and like not overthink that, oh, I might not be qualified for it. What if you are, right? Focus on what you can do, yung madiskarte. I'm sure a lot of you guys sobrang madidiskarte or mga resourceful kayo dyan. So I'm sure you guys can relate to what Sir John said about that. Now, speaking of like prize, money, right? Let's move on to another interesting bit of like talk today. Of course, kanina, we've talked now about the psychological and now cultural factors. Of course, one's finances are also key factors in maintaining our mind's wellness. And we also have questions about these that will be addressed by David Damian. Hey, David, are you ready? So we have these questions for you. I'm sure you can share your thoughts about these. And here we go. I am a private school teacher who is also the breadwinner in the family. Despite having regular income, I find it difficult to make both ends meet because of the high cost of living and the meager salary. How can I improve my finances?
Alright, so find time to budget your income versus expenses. Successful financial planning means being aware of our spending behavior regardless of our income level. Living within our means might sound anti-poor and insensitive, but as a breadwinner, responsibilidad mong alamin yung mga maliliit na detalye sa lahat ng mga binabayaran mo at kung akma ito sa current income mo. Details of financial planning will always reveal what needs to be fixed.
Oh, I love that, living within our means, right? All right, so David, I'm sure you're ready for this one. This is the second question. It's very interesting as well, and it goes like this. I am a new credit card holder, and I am not yet well-versed in handling my finances. After asking people who have experience with managing their money, I learned that some settle their credit card dues in full when they are billed, while others simply pay the minimum amount due. Which one is the best practice and why? Can you help me decide on the best method of payment?
Okay, so having a credit card is a double-edged sword. Gamitin ito ng tama and you can enjoy its advantages. overuse it, and you will wish na sana hindi ka na kumuha nito. At the end of every month, ugaliing bayaran ang full amount because whatever you don't pay actually gets charged with interest. Imagine paying only the minimum amount. Alam mo ba na yung remaining amount na hindi mo binabayaran gets carried over and charged with about 2% interest every month. So imagine kung magkano yung in a year, di ba? Dahil lang sa you didn't put interest on interest.
That is real talk right there. Love your tip. Okay, so this is the next one here. And the question goes like this. Freelancing offers me the best work-life balance. However, I do realize the importance of a medical plan like an HMO or a health plan that me and my family can rely upon in times of need. What should I be looking for when choosing one?
Okay, so first thing that you should be aware of is the cost of hospitalization here in our country. Yun yung dapat na maging basis natin for planning how much ang coverage na kukunin natin. Second, as a freelancer with no benefits, importanteng mayroon tayong HMO for minor health concerns and diagnostic procedures. And health insurance naman for critical illness o yung mga sakit na hindi kayang i-cover ng HMO na tsak na uubos sa pera natin. Having both guarantees na hindi magsasuffer ang financial goals during unexpected situations, both for minor and major health emergencies.
Absolutely. Life is full of surprises, diba? I love your tips there. Now, I'm gonna throw in this next one for you, and the question goes like this. Ako po ang panganay sa aming 5 magkakapatid. Kaya nung makagraduate na ako ang naging breadwinner. Hindi naman kami mayaman, kaya kinailangan kong tumulong sa pagpapaaral sa mga mas nakakabata sa akin. Minimum wage earner lang po ako, pero sagot ko halos lahat ng gastos sa bahay. Nababaon na ako sa utang dahil dito, ano po ang dapat kong gawin? Naku, I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. What's your thought on that, David?
Okay, so regardless kung ikaw ay isang minimum wage earner o milyonaryo, mababaon ka talaga sa utang kung hindi mo gagawin itong mga tips na to. Tip number 1, bilang panganay, ang una mong gawin is to build your emergency fund, which is 3 to 6 months of your monthly income. Tip number 2, to avoid spending it, open a dedicated savings account for your emergency fund para hindi mo ito basta-basta magagalaw. Tip number 3, build habits and consistency. As low as 10% ng income mo ang pwede mong ilagay sa emergency fund mo just so you can already start saving. Tip number 4, find an additional source of income para mapalaki mo pa yung emergency fund in a short period. And lastly, enjoy and have fun. Masaya mag-save lalo na kung alam mo kung saan at kung saan nakalaan ang iniipon mo.
Wow, love those tips. Nako, especially yung habits and consistency. Dami nating matutunan for that, right? We have to really enjoy, but we need to have backup plans, diba, for peace of mind. Now, this is our final question for you, David. I hope you're excited for this one. This is very interesting, and the question goes like this. I am a professional teacher in a private school, and I am the breadwinner in the family, being the eldest in a brood of 3. Due to my meager salary, I'm having a hard time saving for my professional education. What should I do?
Okay, since you are a full-time employee and having a hard time saving up due to lack of funds and time for an additional source of income, mangutang ka. Okay, I know it might sound off coming from a financial advisor, but know that there are 2 kinds of debt. Good debt and bad debt. Okay? So, bad debt is when you borrow money to purchase a depreciating asset. Depreciating means bumababa ang value over time. Like buying the latest model of cellphone para lang makiuso. Kahit gumagana pa naman yung current phone mo. Kung hindi tataas ang value and will not increase your income, that could be considered as bad debt. On the other hand, if yung utangin mo naman will help you generate more income and build your net worth, then it can be considered as good debt. If a debt can improve your way of living in the future, go for it. Education has a positive correlation with the ability to find a better paying job. So go lang. Borrow money so you can invest in yourself. It pays the best interest.
Thank you so much, David, for that. Tandaan natin, dalawa pala yung uri ng utang, ha? All right, so that has been really a great opportunity for us to do a bit of raising awareness on how we can effectively deal with our financial concerns, right? And indeed, time flies when you're having fun. Today was not only a fun day, it was truly an honor to learn from both of you. I'm sure our audience have learned so much as well and had fun. Thank you guys for interacting with us. We love your energy today. Keep them coming. And well, as much as we wanted to hear more from our guests today, we are actually running out of time. So, but before we do a final or official wrap up, Doc, Sir John, do you guys want to share some final thoughts to our audience for today about our topic and any insights you wanted to share?
Yeah, thank you, Mickey. No? First, I would like to say three things as final words to end this program. First is that we have, as employees, or as workers, we have to understand that there is what we call professional detachment, and we should engage in that. What's professional detachment? No? It's doing quality work, it's being committed to our work, delivering good outputs, and yet being able to understand and being aware that our work is not the entirety of our being. Hindi tayo workers lang, hindi tayo employees lang or managers lang. No? There are other aspects of our lives, right? So we are family members, we are sons, daughters, parents, and it's very important to balance that with our lives, as workers. And always remember that we cannot please everybody, right? There's what we call the circle of control, and it will stress us out if we think of all the things that other people say about us. So ano lang ba yung nasa circle of control natin? Tayo lang yung behavior natin, attitude natin, thoughts natin. So we have to be mindful of that. Okay, so that's one. The other thing is I want to remind the employers that there is now the Mental Health Act. So as part of the Mental Health Act, employers, companies, are required to come up with mental health programs and policies in the workplace. And part of that is coming up with activities like this, actually. Education about mental health, about the importance of work-life balance, about when and where to seek help. So that's part of it. And part also of the Mental Health Act is encouraging the employers actually to come up with referral system, when employees have signs and symptoms of mental health problems. So it's very important that there are policies in place in the workplace. In fact, there's a DOLE order about that already. And the third one, I want to talk to the employees themselves, to all of us. We have to start normalizing conversations about mental health. Hindi siya dapat na-stigmatize. Hindi siya dapat isipin, baka ako lang to. Baka ako lang yung ganito yung pakiramdam. For all you know, a lot of people, this pandemic has taught us that, hindi lang tayo yung nakaka-experience ng ganito. It's actually a collective thing, It's actually something that all of us have experienced. No matter if you're a rank and file employee, I know of managers who have developed anxiety and depression because of this. So it's high time that we talk about this. And it's high time that we also realize that there is help if only we seek it. So yeah, and Philippine Mental Health Association is one of the organizations that help in terms of the mental health concerns of the people. Thank you.
Love that. Yes. Hopefully, we can really normalize talking about mental health, remove the stigma around it. Thank you so much for those tips. How about you, Sir John? Any other final thoughts?
Well, I would say that we are in a current, if we are speaking of work, right, employment, we are in a current time where we are speaking more of work-life integration rather than work-life balance. Previously, or perhaps there are still some employers who are still telling their employees, when you come here, it's work, leave home outside. But now we understand, even if we try to do it, culture is not to be left outside, it's in our brain. We cannot separate. So we speak more of work and life integration, whereby I'm invited to find meaning in my work, not simply working for the money, if it's important and crucial, necessary, but also to find a way to enjoy my work and life integration. So, but then we have a problem here. We have the culture of work that enters the culture of life. The problem comes when, as an individual, I need a break from work. How do I take it? How do I break away from work when the two have merged? Well, I would suggest, and I try to do this myself, I would suggest to find ways to kind of pause the work time. It's good to work, it's equally good to take a break. So, as an employee, maybe I would tell my employers or employer, my schedule of work-life integration, but also times that I need a me time, a family time, a barkada time. Then if it's my cell phone, that's my means of communication with my work, I don't know, I'll have to pause, but it's difficult because the phone rings all the time. Maybe companies should help their employees to have a second phone, that's their work phone. And when it's my me time, family time, barkada time, pause, off. What employers should understand, when we allow employees to take a break, they are refreshed because they freely enjoy a different culture, the culture of life, and they come back energized. If we don't allow them to have this break, they burn out. They are always present physically, but mentally they are gone. So when we speak of mental well-being, I guess in the current work-life integration, there also needs break time for wellness to replenish.
Loving those. See, today we've pretty much covered like a 360-degree approach to this topic, right? Holistic tips coming from Doc and Sir John. I've learned so many things. I hope you guys learned so many things as well. Like we've talked about, boundaries, mindfulness, combating burnout, right? And so many other things today. But right now, those are awesome wisdom. We are now at the last leg of our show. But before we go, I once again would like to thank you both, Doc and Sir John, and of course, Sun Life Advisor David Damian. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the knowledge that you guys have shared. It has been truly a wonderful experience for me, and I'm sure our audience enjoyed it too. So right now, an exciting thing for you guys, our audience today, is we have an announcement of the winners of our Mind Your Health Challenge. This is exciting. We held this one from April 28th to May 11, 2022. And the winners are... Thank you so much for your time, to our audience, for your interaction today. We really appreciate it. It has been a wonderful morning. So again, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Don't go yet though, because we wanted to invite all of you to watch the last episode of Sun Life Safe Space series. And this is our episode number 3. And our topic will be You Are Worth It, illuminating a path towards holistic health, with speakers Dr. Mark Eric Reyes of PMHA, and again, Sir John Gaffey, who is a social anthropologist. And this will be on, mark your calendar, it will be on June 18th at 10 in the morning. Alrighty, so once again, guys, this has been Mickey Sachiko saying thank you all so much and have a bright day ahead. Bye!